All right, I am going to then minimize the chat, and I'm going to get rid of me mostly, not you guys. And I am going to call attention to the fact that we're going to do CYSA. The CYSA Plus is a step in the right direction if you want to go into security. Security is, do I need to say it's huge? And more security analysts, more and more security persons are needed. And when I do Sec Plus, Sec Plus to me is the foundation. But before Sec Plus, let me just go here. Hi, I'm Christi Sanders, and I worked here for ATG off and on for about 13 years now. And just, basically done all the various different types of courses. Microsoft, I've got probably 45 certifications, most of them current. And I've been in the whole technical IT game since the late 80s. So I've seen all the improvements and everything, but security, I've been doing security conferences and, weekends and different things like that since the early 90s. And I've seen security go from, do we really need to have, antivirus? And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we need antivirus, we need outside malware, we need anti to be able to keep the bad guys out, the worms and everything else. So basically, this is a good step if you're interested in analysis. If you're interested in looking at reading logs and doing risk assessments and doing all kinds of vulnerability checks and assessments and looking out for the bad guys. And this is, somebody's got to do it, right? So not everything in IT is for everybody. I mean, you've got your network guys, you've got your server guys, you've got your firewall people, your analysts, and all the various different types of people that it takes to be able to put together your team that makes IT. So with that, then, somebody needs to know how to go in and actually look at logs and files and do all these things. So when we talk about the pathway, okay, this is CompTIA's pathway, and CompTIA has outlined it as basically you start with A+. If you want to start with A+, knowing the hardware is a really good thing to be able to make sure that how your machine boots. If your machine boots like this, then if it's not booting like that, then what could it be? Okay. If it's not running right, then what could it be? And you should be able to, I don't know how many guys we have in here. I'm not watching the participants flash by or anything, but I say guys, but when your car isn't running correctly, most people, most guys, I'm going to say guys right now, can put their finger on approximately where it is and what's going on. Oh, it's not starting. It's a battery, it's an alternator, it's a generator, it's something, It's the same thing with a computer. Computers run, they do different things. And if there's something going on in that computer, let's just say I've fixed many, many computers that basically start very slowly. And if you're looking at this pathway, if you're looking at security now, the first thing you probably think, and you should think when a computer is starting slowly, oh, it's got viruses, and it probably does. And so you go in and you know approximately what things to look out for. So it's always a good pathway to start with A+, but if you're not interested in, hardware, then okay, there used to be a lot of demands on for certifications with A+, but not as much anymore. I haven't seen a lot unless you're actually doing help desk or hardware or something like that. The next step in that is Net+. And then the next step is Security+. And I went through Net+ very, very quickly. I want to get Security+ because if you're doing Security Plus, a really good idea is to have knowledge of a network. Okay, the functions, the devices on a network, how the data path runs, what runs in the data path. You can actually go in and sniff, and that's part of what we do as CYSA, is sniff packets, and then to pull those packets apart and see what's happening in the various layers of those packets. So knowing what is traversing your network and how it works, and then how the logical and the physical way that everything is put together, it's a really, really good thing. So if you know Network Plus, then basically Security Plus will be easier. And I'm just saying that because those packets that we look at, that we're analyzing, that we're looking at for basic attacks or anything like that, we're going to start looking at how did it get through, what did it do, all the ports, all the various different types of things that you look at and that you learn about in Net Plus. Then from Security Plus, there is, that big fork in the road, okay? And it says you could go to Linux Plus if that is, a pathway that you want to go. You could go to Server Plus, you could do Cloud Plus. Cloud Technologies is huge, all those virtual machines out there, somebody needs to take care of them. And then the other pathway is to go CYSA. And then notice how I said CYSA and then CASP. CASP is not really compared to, but, well, it kind of is compared to CISP. So CISSP, where I think CASP is here and CISSP is here, but you have your CASP, your advanced security practitioner, basically, that goes and says, hey, we need to do this. And he's part of a management scheme. And therefore, he would go to maybe a CYSA and say, hey, what do you think about this? CYSA may go to a tech and say, hey, can we do this? This needs to be done. Please get it done, whatever it is. So you're pulling more technical in Security Plus, and you're going, okay, so what do we need to do to secure this email that's going out? We need to encrypt it. Do we need to do a digital signature? What do we need to do? And then basically it's a CYSA who monitors that and makes sure that it's going out with the encryption or the hash that it needs to, and that the two servers actually do mutual authentication and how they're doing that authentication. And then the CASP would set out the policy. Okay, the CYSA and the tech may write the procedures that are involved in that policy, but you can see that CYSA is in the middle of the whole big shindig here. And he is the one who's actually doing. And he's actually paired off with Pentest Plus. With Pentest Plus, obviously, that is a, hey, I'm doing this, I'm seeing this, this is happening. So in all of that, then basically we've got our road. And Pentest is it's kind of a fun class. It's a CDO type thing. CYSA has some really good labs in there. Really enjoy those labs. And CASP does also. But when you get into, you can see the professional skills. You've got Project Plus down in the left-hand corner. You've got your Cloud Essentials and CTT, which is your certified trainer. But basically those are, professional skills that you would get if you were doing training or if you were doing project management, different things like that. So they've outlined pretty good all the various different pathways that you can go. Now, you might say, oh, okay, so CompTIA is okay, CompTIA is good. What else is there out there? What is CYSA compared to? So you've got your ISC squared. And ISC squared is a big one that does all the big professional types of certifications, CISSP and all those. It's on the far right. And basically you go to a professional, testing center to be able to take your test, and they do all that. And it's all, down to, this is professional, okay? ESA or EC Council. I love EC Council classes. It does the CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker. But before you go ethical hacker, you might go to EC Council Certified Security Analyst, okay? And with that, then you've got your GIAC, your GIAC, Continuous Monitoring Certification, or GMON, which basically goes then across the board. So you wonder what CYSA is compared to. But on the blue portion, is it performance-based? Is the task performance-based? A little bit, okay? Now, performance-based really isn't going in and typing out commands, okay? Performance-based may be click and drag these boxes in order of, how they actually do whatever, or place these boxes in, whatever. There's also, could be like a threat analysis where you go in and say, okay, so there's an email that was sent out and it's a spam and it's going to all these people in this Fortune 500 company. What kind of an attack was that? So you can click, pull the down arrow, and then those are performance-based. But mostly they're multiple choice. So, and you can always, in multiple choice, you can throw out 2 of the answers and then you can argue with yourself over 2 of them. But I tell my students, don't argue with yourself. And then I have to tell myself as I'm testing, quit arguing with yourself. Gut impression is what I always tell my student. If it comes up, you see that, you see the answer and you click it, and then you question yourself, don't question yourself. Don't do it, just move on. You can always go back in the test. You can mark them, you can go back to review everything. But I always suggest, please don't change your answer unless you're absolutely positive. The length of the exam is 165 minutes, 2.75 hours, okay? You get plenty of time. The amount of questions is generally about 90, okay? You may probably get less in that test because, it's just the way whatever different the performance-based questions have in there, they may have more score than another one. So it all depends on what it is that you're looking at. Security analytics, intrusion detection, response, all the various different types. Now you can go to CompTIA.org and you can look at certifications and go to CYSA, and under that certification, it'll have a huge long thing of every single thing, all the focuses and the amounts, the percentage of the focuses on each one of the various different focuses of the exam. Prereqs, it is recommended that you have Net Plus and Security Plus, or if you have some networking knowledge, some security experience, it says that experience in technical or your cybersecurity job, 4 years. Does it say 4 years? Minimum of 4 years. Now, those, unlike your ISC squared wants a document that says that you have experience, okay? But with CYSA, then basically it's all up to you. I mean, you take the test, you got it. If you understand it, great, take the test. So another thing that's really kind of cool is CYSA is Dod approved, and it goes along with their baselines of the 8140, 8570 baseline certifications, which is kind of cool. So the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics predicts that information security analysts will be the fastest growing job category within with 32% overall growth between 2018 and 2028. I would say maybe even more of that. And if you're a girl, I hate to be, you know, if that's wrong, then I'm just saying they're looking for more. I don't know what diversity. It's kind of hard to find us, you know, in the field. All right, so what can you expect to learn when you're in this boot camp? So, you know, all of these are basic. You go through the security concepts. You know, the CIA triangle is part of everything security. So you've got your confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and that's just part of everything. That's security. So, you know, you go over the concepts. What is it? You know, what is a threat? What is a vulnerability? What is a risk? What is all the various different types of things that you're going to be looking at as your job? Risk management is a huge thing. Threats and vulnerabilities. You've got to get used to basically, hey, I'm starting this computer and it's really slow. You know, what is it? Is it a memory hang up and one of the apps that won't close, or shutting down won't close? You know, I started my computer the other day and I thought, what is taking so long? And it was so frustrating. I even hit Control-Delete when Task Manager, and I thought, what is it? And it wouldn't come up. I mean, it took like a half hour for the Task Manager to come up. And I thought, what in the world is it raining? I thought, I don't think I have any viruses or worms or anything in my computer. And yet I hate to say it, but Windows Defender was taking up, and I kid you not, this is really weird, 652% of my RAM usage. And I thought, 652%, how can you get over 100%? So I'm like, this is just mind blowing. So I went out and I said, yeah, no, I'm shutting that down. I have McAfee on there. So I'm like, I don't need Defender anyway. So, but you had to do a registry hack in order to be able to do that, which is really kind of weird. So we go into cybersecurity fundamentals. Then you do recognizing vulnerabilities, common vulnerabilities, some of the network vulnerabilities, and then application exploits. So we don't leave out applications because applications may be in our environment. With proprietary applications, you may have software developers on site doing all these things. So those are really, really, really important that you get that. We know the SDA or the SDL, whatever it is. And then software development lifecycle, yeah, SDL. And then we know, you know, all the things that we need to do to test an app to make sure those vulnerabilities, those holes are closed, et cetera, et cetera. Then we do vulnerability management. We have to assess those things. That's the job. We go through and we figure out what programs are working, not working. You know, if there's a vulnerability in there, then how are we going to fix it? And so we have to discuss those things with the powers that be, you know, and get technical involved in there also. It goes through some of the steps of basically certified ethical hacking, Recon. So when you do Recon as a member of a network, okay, so you're cybersecurity analyst, okay, and you go through and you say, I wonder, I'm sure you've done this to yourself, Google your name, I wonder what is on the internet about me, okay? So in Recon, a hacker or a threat vector or a actor, you know, a threat actor, any of those would go in and say, I want to know more about this company. I want to know more about what's going on. And there's all kinds of passive recon that you can do. So the OSINT, the open source intelligence out there, you're putting your stuff out there. So, you know, it's like, it's all there. So you can't blame anybody but yourself for no privacy. Sorry about that, but it's true. Anybody can find out anything, but what am I seeing about the company? What kind of secrets am I giving away? In Recon, you have to look at when you're looking for a job, okay? Or when I'm searching for an employee, how much information am I giving away? And that's all about looking at the results of scans, the results of Google hacking. I can go in and I can look up anything about my whois, okay? About my IP address, everything that you need to look at. That's reconnaissance, and seeing if we're giving away too much about the company. If it's a Fortune 500 company, then you would just go and say, okay, why did the CFO get whaled? Okay, there was a whaling attack on the CFO and he lost millions out of his bank account. How did that happen? Well, how did it happen? You need to go in and do some recon on your company. Monitoring networks, or never mind. Look at the security system that's happening, your IDS, your ICS, all the various different, firewall, routers, switches, everything that people put ACLs on there and need to be able to monitor. Most places are hacked, like the New York Times was hacked 4 months before they discovered that they were hacked. So a lot of people will go in. I had a job where I had to go in and print off monitoring logs for my boss in the mornings. So I went in, did it, and there became a stack, huge, on his desk, but he at least had the logs. And a lot of times as you scan through the logs, you're looking for certain things. And as you then look through the log files, you may be missing like false positives, false negatives, something like that may alert you to, hey, 3 months ago, this came through, we need to make sure that it's still not here, or if it is, why is it still here? Why didn't we notice it before? So go through and do a network analysis, and that's all of the devices. How are we doing that? Is it, secure? The policy. We think of policies being an administrative control, and it is. Administrative controls are all about doing the policies, doing the, they hand it off to you to do the procedures. But policy is designed around security. Now, I don't know if you work right now, if you're, when you're at work, and you do Control-Delete or you put a CAC in your reader on your computer and you go in and put your username and password in there, the next screen you may see is called an acceptable use policy, or an AUP. And that's stating what you can and cannot do on that computer. Of course, you can do it, but if you do it, then just know that you're going to be monitored, okay? Know that they can, fire you because of what you're doing or whatever it is. Because every time you say next, you're accepting that policy. Now that policy is part of a number of different policies that they may have. So basically somebody's got to do the policies, and generally they're worked out according to frameworks, according to control types, and different things like that. Like in a network, do you have a mandatory vacation? Okay. Have you ever worked for someplace that somebody goes and brags about the fact that I've worked here for 18 years and I've never had a vacation? Big red flag goes out in my mind. Okay. And I'm like, why? You're not, it's not okay. So now you're going to take 2 weeks consecutive vacation, and we're going to run some monitors, and we're going to run some different analysis, and we're going to run some scripts on your computer and the different things that you take care of to see if you've been doing something weird, okay? Nefarious. Secure network design, we harden networks. Now, hardening is basically you go and you install a system, okay? When you install a system with a default installation, Okay, I just installed CentOS or CentOS, a Linux system. And basically I said, just go through and do your install, right? Well, when Windows or any of the different, you know, software applications run their install, they do what's known as a default installation. And if you go in there, you can look through the services that are running on that machine. And you can say, well, wait a minute, you know, this doesn't need to be running and this doesn't need to be running. You can go through and disable services that don't need to be running because that's a file server, or it's a SQL server, or it's an Exchange server, or something like that. We're not using those services to be able to get to that. So basically, you know, it's nice to be able to have a system that's already been hardened, which is something that we would do. We would install a system, we would go through and harden that system or take away all those applications that are not necessary, all the various different types of services that aren't necessary, close the ports, you know, anything that we need to do. And then we take an image of that machine, and then we will lay down those machines, and knowing that we have a security baseline that we're working with in the very first place. And then secure application development, like I said, you know, if you've got developers in your network, then basically you're going to help them out or watch them. They don't like to be watched, but you know, somebody has to do it. They need to report to somebody, let's just say. Identity management, how are we logging in? Are we using biometrics? Are we using CAC? Are we using, you know, triple layer, multiple access? What is it that we're doing? And is it working, you know, or is it a burden on people? I have to put my CAC in, and I have to put my eyeball up to the camera, and then I have to have a 25,000 character passcode, you know? So what is it that we're doing, and is it working? Incident response, of course, the IRP, which IRP, I love that. But incident response procedures and a plan go into this territory also. Do you have an incident response team? How are you going to work with a vulnerability or somebody who hacked into your system? What is the response going to be? How are you going to handle that? And then forensics, not necessarily your job, but basically what do you need to do to preserve these machines for somebody who comes in? You cannot shut down a machine because you're going to lose different things in your system cache, in RAM, and different things that you may need. So you just need to know that response and know about what it is that you need to do. Okay, so those are some of the things in there that you're going to go through, quite a few of them. And it sounds normal, doesn't it, for security? Yep, it is. And notice how they're specialized to different portions that the CYSA, the analyst, has to look at and take care of, okay? And most of it is there. So I just thought it might be fun to throw a couple of questions out here from practice exam. So, okay, so an audit has revealed an organization is utilizing a large number of servers that are running unsupported operating systems. Okay, we just talked about hardening systems. As part of the management response phase of an audit, which of the following would best demonstrate senior management is appropriately aware and addressing the issue? All right, so is it copies of prior audits that did not identify the servers as an issue? Maybe, okay. Project plans relating to the replacement of the servers that were approved by management? I don't think so. Minutes from meetings in which risk assessment activities addressing the servers were discussed. And ACLs from perimeter firewalls showing blocked access to the servers. I don't think that would be it. How about when we do a risk assessment, we don't have that risk assessment available to everybody, okay? That would just be dumb. Because if we put the risk assessment out and anybody and everybody can see it, they say, oh, look, the firewall allows, HTTP, and let's go ahead and let's, create a vulnerability around that and see what we can do. So copies of change orders relating to vulnerable servers. Somebody might have gotten a hold of that. Actually, it's meetings for minutes in which risk assessment activities addressing servers were discussed. So you have to make sure that you have the right people in the meetings and that you share those really sensitive documents with only the people that need to see them and only the amount of information of what they need to reveal. Cyber Incident Response Analyst is investigating a suspected cryptocurrency miner on a company server. Now, if you're mining cryptocurrency, then you need a lot of power, you need a lot of energy, you need a lot of machines, because the more machines you've got ramped up, the more currency you can, Bitcoin you can go through and see if you can earn some money on there. So which of the following is the first step the analyst should take? All right. So create a full disk image of the server's hard drive to look for a file containing the malware. I don't think so. Run a manual antivirus scan on the machine to look for known malicious software. No. Take a memory snapshot of the machine to capture volatile information stored in memory. That might show you a few things. Start packet capturing to look for traffic that could be indicative of or indicative of command and control from the miner. Oh, I was looking for E, but that's it. So if you go, you're looking for the packets that are going back and forth. Start a packet capture, and start looking at the traffic and where it's going and where it's coming to. Is it coming in from a suspicious port? Is it going out of a really weird port? So, generally ports from 49,000, down are not watched all that much. So basically, we start looking at those things. There's a, what is it called? Lemon Duck. Lemon Duck now is using, which is a vulnerability now. The scammers are using it to be able to do crypto mining. They use port, which is 65,535, so 529. That port in order to be able to do Lemon Duck. And I thought that was really interesting. Lemon Duck out of China. So, all right. So those are some of the things that are in CYSA, okay? And the next boot camp starts on December 7th. You can do in classroom and you can do live remote. I've kind of gotten used to the live remote because we've had to do it quite a bit through the, quarantine period. We may, have to go into quarantine. I doubt it. But basically, even if you're in quarantine, Sophia, you may, want to take a live remote or something like that. So always a good idea. And we try not to be boring. I mean, that's just not our job. Thank you for coming. And here's the contact information. I will leave that up if you want to get that. I will entertain questions now. If you guys have questions, you can they unmute their mics and ask so everybody else can hear you, or we can do chat so everyone can see it or whatever. Any questions?